Welcome everyone to the Football Addicts Anonymous podcast. Great to have my guy Chris Cherry back.
How's it going?
Long time, man.
Yeah, it's been a couple of weeks, but I'm glad to be
Yeah. Holidays. How was your New Year, Christmas, everything?
busy and exhausting, but it was good.
Yeah, man. It was a good time. I'm back in Milwaukee, back from Athens. So
Yeah,
uh
I saw you partying it up there in Athens for the championship game.
yes, sir. Go dogs. It was something else, man. Um but let's get into the show today. We got Super wild card weekend talk. We got one more game tonight to look at the end of the show. And as always, we'll talk about some interviews for the coaching and GM spots that are open right now. So, Saturday, Bengals beating the Raiders 26-19. This was, I don't know, maybe the Niners game was better, but I thought this game was pretty good to start the weekend. Joe Burrow, no turnovers, really good. And Derek Carr had 2 turnovers, but everyone wants to talk about the call, the whistle, the non-whistle.
Yeah,
I
I
thought it
mean,
was fine. I don't know.
yeah, the whole thing was kind of stupid to me. I mean, the ball was literally basically in his hands when they blew the whistle. I know that there's technically the rules say that a whistle blows the play dead no matter what, but I also think that they were going to score on that drive anyway, even if they had to blow that play dead. I think they still would have scored on the next play. Or even if they kicked a field goal, that still puts them ahead of the Raiders here. So I think no matter what, they still win this game.
Yeah, I agree. We all picked the Bengals, so it's good for us. I was disappointed. I did a same game parlay for almost every game, except the Bills game. But this one I lost on it because Joe Mixon was terrible. Absolutely terrible. 2.8 yards per carry. Only had 48 yards. I think I needed him to get like 70 or something like that. I thought he would be an integral part. He was in the first game they played when they beat the Raiders the first time. Joe Mixon had a good day, but not in this one. It was Joe Burrow and the Bengals defense. That was really the story.
Yeah. Uh, yeah, this game, I also finally was able to get into the sports betting because now it is legal in the state of New York, which is where I am now. So it finally opened up for me. I put a couple parlays down, and most of them haven't or didn't hit, but I do have one that is still live tonight that started yesterday. So we'll see how that goes. But it was a 6-part anytime touchdown scorer parlay, and I got 2 more guys to score tonight. So let's hope that Cup and your former running back there in Pittsburgh, Mr. Connor, can score for me.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Jamar Chase, 9 catches, 116 yards, 12 targets here. Darren Waller had 12 targets as well. Renfro, 11 targets, caught 8 of them, but not as many yards, only 58 there. Uzama had a great day, 6 for 64 and a touchdown. Tyler Boyd scored. And then defensively, I'm going on the losing end because Max Crosby continued to dominate. 6 tackles, 3 solos, 1 sack, 2 tackles for loss, and 2 quarterback hits for the Raiders defensive end.
Yeah. I mean, that is Max Crosby is the defense for Las Vegas, though. I feel like outside of him, they don't really have much going for them on defense. But I mean, that's up to Mike Mayock and whoever the new head coach will be next year. If it's not I can't think of the interim guy's name right now. But yeah, I think that's a big reason for their downfall is that their defense isn't that great.
Well, the Bengals covered -6 and under 48.5. All right. The other Saturday night game, Bills, what a game. 47-17 annihilation of the Patriots. It was a beautiful thing to see, to watch Bill Belichick get routed in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
The first time in NFL history a team had 7 straight touchdown drives. And I believe also the first time that they never had anything but touchdowns except for the kneel down at the end.
Yeah, so I don't really even count that drive because I think they probably would have scored an 8th touchdown on that drive if they needed to.
Yeah.
The way things were going that night.
Josh Allen, 84%, 308. He had more touchdowns than incompletions, 5 touchdowns, 4 incompletions. Also ran 6 times for 66 yards. Mac Jones struggled for the second straight game against the Bills, throwing another 2 interceptions. I was hoping that it was going to be a shutout. I have the Bills defense in NFL.com's fantasy playoff challenge. So they still scored 13 points, but could have been more had they not given up 17.
Yeah, this game went a lot different than I was expecting. I mean, I picked the Patriots in our picks here. I also picked the Patriots with the spread, thinking that even if they lose, it wasn't going to be a blowout. But here we are, losing by 30 here. But literally everything was going right for Buffalo that night. I mean, we already mentioned the 7 touchdown drives, but I don't know if you saw this post-game interview with Josh Allen, but he said that on the one of the Dawson Knox touchdowns, he didn't even mean to throw a touchdown. He was trying to just throw it away because he was getting chased,
Yeah, it was the first.
and it somehow ended up in Dawson Knox's hands.
Yeah, the first touchdown they had. Dawson Knox had a nice night.
Mm-hmm.
Devin Singletary, I still recall about 3 weeks back, maybe it was a month ago. I'm like, if the Bills are going to be successful down the stretch, it's going to have to be Devin Singletary, and he has been a monster getting their running game going. And it's because they took Zach Moss off the field. They gave Singletary the load that he deserves to have, and he's pulling through for him. 16 carries, 81 yards, 2 touchdowns here, 3 catches for 13 yards as well. Dawson Knox, 5 receptions, 89 yards, 2 touchdowns. Kendrick Bourne scored twice for the Patriots as well. 7 catches, 77 yards, and 2 scores there. Gabe Davis scored, Emmanuel Sanders, and of course, the Bills punctuated it with a big man touchdown. Tommy Doyle scoring on a 1-yard reception. Defensively, I'm going to go Boogie Basham. 3 tackles, 2 solos, 1 sack, tackle for loss, and a QB hit.
I like it.
And I put a meme out on my in my law school fantasy group chat saying Mac Jones is not that guy.
I mean, I kind of hope he is though, because I still do have him in our dynasty league. So let's hope he turns into something better than what he's been.
It's the Bills division now. Bills cover -4.5 over 43 by themselves. Yeah, the only thing that didn't go right for the Bills was they missed 3 extra points, or 2. They missed 2 extra points. One he just missed, and one he got blocked.
Yeah.
Sunday, Bucs beating the Eagles 31-15 in Tampa. Tom Brady, spectacular again, 271, 2 touchdowns, 78.4% completions. I feel like more people, maybe it's because I get Eagles news, but I feel like more people are talking about Jalen Hurts in a losing effort than they are talking about Tom Brady and the Bucs in their winning effort.
I mean, yeah, I kind of noticed that too, but I feel like it's just because like this is just old news for Tom Brady. Like this is how Brady's supposed to be in the playoffs. He's supposed to win these games. So nobody really wants to talk about Brady right now because this is just what he does. Now, in 2 weeks when he's in Green Bay against the Packers for the championship, then they'll probably talk about him. But yeah, this game was all about the Eagles.
Well, I still say people gotta slow down on. Wow, this is just normal for Tom Brady. He's still only 4-2 in wild card games. He's 11-1 in the divisional round, but he was going into this game. He was only 3-2 in wild card games. So it wasn't that normal for him to win in the wild card round. But yeah, Jalen Hurts. People are saying he's not the future of the Eagles. I still think he is. He walked out of the stadium in a walking boot, and that's because he said in his interview today, that he wasn't 100% down the stretch. That's why he wasn't running as much as he was early in the season, because he couldn't. He literally could not with his ankle injury. He had some torn ligaments in his ankle. And the Bucs, I also saw Daniel Jeremiah put on a picture or someone put on a picture of the missed Quez Watkins. He missed a wide open touchdown down the field, but it was because the Bucs did a good job of making sure whoever was on the right side of the offense didn't allow Jalen Hurts to scramble right. They would let him go left, where he threw an interception and he almost had another one, but they weren't allowing him to scramble right. So that was a big thing for him. I still like him. I think the Eagles need to use their 3 first-round picks to go and get people around him. I know it's weird, but draft another receiver in the first round because he needs it.
Yeah, I mean, the Eagles, outside of Dallas Goedert, really don't have that great of a receiving core. Even Devontae Smith has kind of struggled a little bit.
But he broke the Eagles' rookie receiving record.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying, like, in this kind of game, he was 6 out of 11 targets. Or 4, 4 catches out of 11 targets. I know that wasn't entirely his fault, but still.
Some of them were pretty erratic throws. But yeah, I think they're, like I said, I kept telling people I knew we were going to lose this game. It's fine. I'm just happy we got to the playoffs this year. I think it's really about next season, because I kept telling people down the stretch here, this year felt like 2016, Carson Wentz's rookie year. And then they go to 2017 and they win the Super Bowl, even if Wentz gets hurt. But I still think 2022 could be the year, especially with all the draft picks the Eagles have, whether they turn those into rookies or they turn them into players or veterans.
Yeah.
And they're gonna have a good amount of cap space too, because Carson Wentz is finally going to be off the books. So they're going to have a good amount of cap space going into free agency. I think they'll be able to get very competitive in 2022 and challenge the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, the Eagles are definitely in a good spot. They're definitely ahead of schedule. But I mean, I don't really know. I can't think of their schedule that they had this year off the top of my head, whether it was a soft schedule or not. But
yeah, they didn't beat any playoff teams.
So I mean, that could play into it, but at the same time, nobody expected them to make the playoffs anyway. So they are ahead of schedule right now, and if they can do what they did this year, next year, and maybe even beat the Cowboys, which they weren't able to do this year, then they could easily win the division next year.
Yeah. The Eagles couldn't get anything going on the running game. Boston Scott was leading running back. Jalen Hurts leading rusher in the game overall for the Eagles. But he scored. Could have used those rushing yards from Miles Sanders. That would have been great. Kenneth Gainwell scored on a receiving touchdown. Mike Evans had himself a game, 9 catches, 117 yards, and a touchdown, 10 targets there. Dallas Goedert, 12 targets, 6 for 92. Like you said, Devontae Smith, 11 targets, 4 receptions for 60 yards. Gronk scored. Defensively, there's a lot of stats defensively. Some for the Eagles, some for the Bucs. I'm going to go the Eagles. Alex Singleton, I still say what a find for Howie Roseman. Got him from the CFL, 2-time Grey Cup champion, 16 tackles, 10 solos, a sack, 4 tackles for loss, and a QB hit.
And how about Ryan Kerrigan, too? He didn't have a sack all season. Comes into this game and gets a sack and a half, plus, 2 tackles for loss and 2 QB hits. So he was in the backfield a lot.
Yeah, and he was playing. He started out of necessity because defensive end Josh Sweat went to the hospital on Saturday night or Saturday with some kind of life-threatening situation that he had to have surgery, and he tried everything to get ready to play and just couldn't go. So Ryan Kerrigan started, and he had himself a day. He hadn't been doing much all year because Josh Sweat was developing and taking more snaps away from him, but produced in the playoff game. So Bucs cover -7, under 47.5.
Just barely.
Yeah, I was sweating that. I had the under, but I also had Eagles +8.5. So I was like, well, either one of the two, they're either going to hit the under or the Eagles are going to go down and cover. So, all right. Niners getting the win against the Cowboys, the only road team to win so far, 23-17.
All right, let's be real. They didn't win this game. The Cowboys gave it to them at the end of the game.
Well, they did.
I believe if the Cowboys didn't have that last second blunder, they would have won this game. I think that they would have completed that comeback there at the end.
Well, what else do you expect from the Cowboys?
Well, exactly, but still.
They cowboyed like they do every year in the playoffs. That's what, like, in the Bengals game, I was like, when the Raiders were driving down at the end, I was like, the Bengals are about to bangle. And they didn't. They held up. But the Cowboys did cowboy. The Jimmy Garoppolo, people still want to put him down, but the thing is, okay, so he didn't score a touchdown. He didn't throw a touchdown. He did have one interception that could have cost him the game. But, again, he still is the winning quarterback. He still does enough to get the wins. And the record of Kyle Shanahan when Garoppolo starts versus every other quarterback is still far and wide. So Jimmy Garoppolo, the Niners are going to get a pretty penny for him in the offseason from someone. Probably the Panthers, because they're stupid enough to trade for mid-range quarterbacks, like Sam Darnold last year. But
I think Garoppolo is actually better than Darnold, though. But it's weird though, because he himself doesn't have great stats, doesn't do whatever, but he wins games.
Yeah.
Somehow he always has, he started off incredible in San Francisco, winning what, 7? He was 7-0 at first or something to begin his 49er career, I think.
Yeah, I don't remember.
But granted, the 49ers have always had a good defense, so
and a running game,
part of it too, and running game as well.
Yeah, and I think it'd be interesting to see him not in a Kyle Shanahan offense. He did go 2-0 in New England in his 2 starts there.
But that was New England.
But still, that was the end of the Tom Brady era, where they still didn't have that great of weapons. I think Edelman was still there, though.
But, yeah, I don't think that – he needs to be on a team that has good weapons around him. He does not elevate the team like some other players would. He would need to go to a team that's already loaded at every other position in order to succeed, I think.
Yeah, Elijah Mitchell, big workload in this one. 27 carries, 96 yards, and a touchdown. Interesting. He also had a one reception for a minus 11 yards, which was great.
Mm-hmm.
I was disappointed. My parlay was not even close in this game. Zeke was terrible. CD Lamb only got like one catch, and I had him to get like 60 or 70 receiving yards, something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this game is the one that started my parlay that is still going on tonight. I had Debo and Cooper scoring, and they both did. So
Yeah, I had Zeke to score. That didn't work. Amari Cooper, though, 6 catches, 64 yards, touchdown on 10 targets. Cedric Wilson also got 10 targets, 5 catches for 62 yards. Debo, like you said, 3 receptions, 38 yards. I had him to get 5 or 6 catches. Didn't happen. He only got 3 targets. I don't know why, but 10 carries for 72 yards and a touchdown. He's an integral part of their running game now. And defensively, Eric Armstead, 4 tackles, a solo, 1 sack, tackle for loss, and 3 quarterback hits.
and I just want to shout out Leighton Vander Esch for that play towards the end of the game where he essentially saved their season for another couple plays. I forget who it was that he tackled, but they were literally like a foot away from the first down line, and if they had gotten that game, was going to be over. And he just threw him backwards.
Yeah, I believe it was Debo.
Yeah,
It was Debo Samuel.
that was a nice play on his part, but obviously didn't work out for them in the end.
Yeah, and it's funny because I'm hearing all this stuff. I saw a bunch of stuff on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook that said, like, here's to not having to hear "We Them Boys," or how about them Cowboys for another year. Niners plus 3.5 under 51. All right, last night's game, Chiefs 42-21 over the Steelers. Patrick Mahomes is outstanding, 76.9%, 404 yards, 5 touchdowns, a pick. Also ran 3 times for 29 yards. And Jerick McKinnon was, weirdly enough, the X factor in this game. Ran 12 times for 61 yards, had 6 catches, 81 yards, and a touchdown as well. Yeah.
This game didn't go as I thought it was going to be. I mean, I knew the Chiefs were going to win this game because they're the Chiefs, but I thought the Steelers were going to put up a little bit more of a fight than they did. I thought I forget what I had the line at. I think it was like 12.5, and I had the Steelers plus 12.5 because I thought that they were going to be within 2 touchdowns. But yeah, no, that didn't happen.
Yeah, I took 12.5 as well. I also was disappointed the Steelers didn't punch it in at the end to cover my teaser, which was plus 18.5. Zach Gentry 1 yard short.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Najee Harris, again, it's just they can't run the ball at all. He fumbled for the first time all season after almost 400 touches.
Yeah, but that one fumble is going to be played over and over again because it was in probably the biggest moment of the season for him, at least.
Yeah,
It was in a playoff game.
I believe they were down 28-7 at that point. Travis Kelce had himself a night, 5 catches, 108 yards, a touchdown, all 7 targets. Also threw a 2-yard touchdown to Byron Pringle, who scored twice, 5 catches, 37 yards.
Yeah, I think that was the player I was most surprised about because Pringle, I feel like I haven't really heard about all season. All of a sudden, he scores 2 touchdowns in this game.
Dude, it's that random third receiver, you know. Some games you get DeMarcus Robinson, some games you get Byron Pringle, and some games you get Mecole Hardman.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then Kelsey and Hill produce like they normally do every game. So
Kelsey is another part of my parlay, and so was Deontay Johnson. I was a little nervous with the Johnson one because I didn't realize that Juju was going to be back. So I was like, well, that's going to take some time away from Deontay Johnson, but clearly it didn't matter. He still scored.
yeah, 10 targets for Deontay, 5 catches, 34 yards, and a touchdown. 2 drops, 2 massive drops too. I mean, he had been doing so much better this season than he was last year with drops. And I mean, just horrible timing on both of his drops in this game. And then I think someone else dropped one too. I think it was Juju. Juju dropped one, I believe, on the sideline too. And I was like, I mean, it's the little things that you can't do when you have a 39-year-old quarterback. You know?
Yeah.
Help him as much as you can.
I mean, Roethlisberger still threw 44 times too. So
yeah, it's that dink and dunk that he's been doing the last years of his career. 215. He did turn it over though, which was great. 2 touchdowns at the end. Wearing my Big Ben jersey here just to, even though he hasn't officially announced it. That's why we're not going to talk about his retirement yet until he officially announces it. Then we'll talk about
after his reaction last week. There's no way he's coming back next year.
Yeah, but once he officially announces it, then we'll talk about his career and his career accolades and that. When we need filler space in the off season coming up. So, Chiefs also had a big man touchdown. Guard Nick Allegretti, 1 yard receiving touchdown there. And it was really annoying because it was an illegal play. I mean, as a receiver, you can't throw a defensive back down and then catch the ball. You can't do that, dude. Like, he literally threw TJ Watt down and then he freaking caught the touchdown. I was like, bro, that, for one, it's offensive pass interference. And it's a holding penalty on him, too. So
I don't know.
And Patrick Mahomes said he was like the 5th option on the play, too.
Well, speaking of TJ Watt, though, who else to talk about on defense other than him?
The year it's coming up in the biggest spot. Him and Cameron Hayward last night were outstanding. 3 tackles, all of them solos, a sack, 2 tackles lost, pass deflection, 3 quarterback hits, and a 26-yard fumble return for a touchdown that opened the scoring in the game. And that's the thing that was weird. It's like, bro, the Steelers were there. 0-0 after the first quarter. They get the fumble return for a touchdown. I locked in. I was like, bro, Steelers money line plus 450. We're rolling it, $10 to win 45. I thought they had it. That's the thing, I think, because they got another stop then. Or no, they didn't. Patrick Mahomes went down and answered. I was like, if they can score on the next drive, I think they can do it. If they could have made it 14-7 Steelers instead of 14-7 Chiefs. But they went to the hurry up too. They didn't go to it quick enough. They went to it in the second half when they were down by 28 points. And that's what Roethlisberger had been doing well all year, was the hurry up offense, quick throws. And they just didn't do it in the first half. So. Chiefs cover -12 over 46.5 easily.
Almost by themselves.
All right. NCAA news. There is one piece of news I have that is massive for the Georgia Bulldogs. Georgia junior linebacker Nolan Smith is returning for his senior season, so they will be getting back one of the key defenders on the best defense in the country next season. Very excited about Nolan Smith's return for his senior year. NFL news. Starting off, interview for the Panthers special teams coordinator spot. They got permission from the Giants to interview their special teams coordinator, Thomas McGaughey. So, yeah, I don't know much about him, but I was disappointed. I was saddened when they fired Chase Blackburn. All right, head coach interviews here. Texans getting a couple in. Former Dolphins head coach Brian Flores, Chargers offensive coordinator Joe Lombardi, Eagles defensive coordinator Jonathan Gannon, and interestingly enough, Florida Atlantic wide receivers coach Hines Ward.
Yeah, that's a little bit of a jump for him, no matter who it is. But yeah, I mean, the name that stands out to me there is Brian Flores. Obviously, it's still a question mark as to why the Dolphins actually fired him. Plus, he has connections with Deshaun Watson, being that he was the one that really wanted to bring him into Miami. So I wouldn't be surprised if he really tries to go for that job and ends up being the one that gets it.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like Flores is not going to be the guy in Chicago. I think it's going to be Doug Peterson. I don't know why. It just Doug Peterson feels like a Chicago kind of guy. Flores, I think Denver, which we'll talk about a couple more of their interviews that they're having. But moving on to the Vikings, they are interviewing Bucs defensive coordinator Todd Bowles, Packers offensive coordinator Nathaniel Hackett, 49ers defensive coordinator D'Amico Ryans, Cowboys offensive coordinator Kellen Moore, and Eagles defensive coordinator Jonathan Gannon. I'm not really sure about the Vikings. I think also with the Bears, Packers offensive coordinator Nathaniel Hackett, I think feels like he could be a fit with Chicago as well. Viking, I'm not sure about yet.
I mean, if I were the Vikings, though, I would definitely lean towards a defensive-minded head coach because, I mean, they have a great offense anyway. That defense is what I think needs to be coached up more and built a little bit better.
Yeah. Actually, you know what? I was talking about the Bears. I don't know why I was talking about the Bears when the first couple of people were the Texans head coaching interviews.
Yeah, I noticed that, but I was gonna just let you go.
Yeah, but Flores doesn't make sense in Houston anyways, because Deshaun Watson, it doesn't matter who they hire as head coach. He doesn't want to be a Texan again. So
that is true. Well, then, yeah, he'll go to Denver and try to trade for him from there.
As far as the Vikings, though, just those five names right there. Jonathan Gannon for the Eagles is a gut feel for the Vikings. Again, no stats or anything to back it up, just the gut feel from those names anyways.
And I mean, there is usually like one or two random names hired, so that could be one of them this year. Like, even you have to agree that Sirianni last year, I feel like, was just out of left field.
Yeah, I mean, it made sense on what Jeffrey Lurie wanted. They wanted their offense was great under Frank Reich, and they wanted a Frank Reich disciple.
Yeah.
Broncos, though, Bengals offensive coordinator Brian Callahan and Patriots linebackers coach Gerard Mayo. Hearing that even though those two are getting interviews, Cowboys defensive coordinator Dan Quinn has emerged as the favorite for the Broncos, which is kind of weird that they would go defense, considering they already have a good defense. They need a quarterback whisperer. But if he can find his next Kyle Shanahan like he had in Atlanta, as his offensive coordinator,
Mm-hmm.
then they would be okay. They would be able to win, play offense very well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who that would be. Maybe Packers quarterbacks coach Luke Getsy. Texans quarterbacks coach Pep Hamilton as well.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll have to see. It's always weird. It's always interesting to see who makes the first domino fall. Which
Yeah.
team can get their head coach hired first? And it's weird because I haven't talked about the Jaguars recently. They were the first ones to start their head coach interviews because they fired their head coach so early. Not sure who the lead is there, but Doug Peterson also interviewed for that one.
Yeah, I mean, who knows if the coach actually matters there for Jacksonville, because that team, it seems like it doesn't matter who's the quarterback, who's the coach. They just can't seem to really get it together.
Look, I still say it would be a shocker to hire a second college head coach in a row, but I still stick by that Dabo Swinney does not like the NIL stuff and where college football is going. So why not reunite him with his quarterback
and running back?
Yeah, I'm just saying.
I mean,
more than likely won't happen. But
no, probably not. But if they're gonna go the college route again, I would try to get him from Clemson.
Yeah. And then the Bears head coaching job here, former Colts head coach Jim Caldwell, Packers offensive coordinator Nathaniel Hackett, and Colts defensive coordinator Matt Eberflus. Again, I think Nathaniel Hackett makes a lot of sense. We have Doug Peterson too. They need an offensive coach to mentor Justin Fields.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting though that some of the big names that were on the candidate list last year that didn't get jobs don't seem to be on it this year. Like Brian Dable from Buffalo.
Oh, yeah, he is. He is. We had those on Friday.
Oh, well, because I was gonna say Eric Bieniemy, who's been a hot commodity over the last couple of years, but still hasn't had a job.
Bieniemy is actually not. He's only had one interview, I believe it was with the Texans. But yeah, Daboll's been interviewed by the Dolphins, Bears, and Broncos, I believe. Leslie Frazier, also a big name this cycle. And then weirdly enough, the Raiders are interviewing, they still have interim head coach Rich Bisaccia, who the players really want to stick. But they are interviewing head coaches. They are interviewing Patriots linebackers coach Gerard Mayo. But weirdly enough, Mike Mayock has not been fired yet, right? But they did interview Patriots executive Dave Ziegler, who was their de facto GM. So it's like, it looks like they're paving the way to push Mike Mayock out in Vegas.
I mean, I don't think he's done a terrible job, though. Obviously, there's been a few character questions from, was that last year's draft, I guess? Because both of their first round picks got cut now. But, I mean, aside from them, though, obviously the Raiders were able to make the playoffs this year. So he built a pretty good roster. It's just.
And that's why I think Rich Bisaccia should stay. Players like him. I guess the biggest question is, can he sustain that success? That's, who knows, but
yeah, well, for me, like, just thinking from like a owner or GM perspective, if I were an owner or a GM of a team, I would want my players' input of who their head coach is going to be. And if they really like the guy, and obviously, like I said, they succeeded this year, well, kind of at least like they at least made the playoffs. I would give him another shot. I would say, okay, you're the head coach going forward. We'll see how it goes, and there you go.
Yeah, I agree. And also, I've heard that Derek Carr's future with the Raiders kind of hinges on who the next head coach is. And I believe that if Bisaccia stays, Carr will want to stay.
Mhm.
Otherwise, I don't think he will want to stay if he doesn't like who they choose. So, and then that would be an interesting thing in itself. Do they move on and re-sign Marcus Mariota to be their next guy, or do they draft someone? I don't know. We'll get to that if that comes to term. For the Bears GM job, though, they are interviewing Titans director of player personnel Monty Ossenfort, former Raiders GM and current Dolphins senior personnel executive Reggie McKenzie, and Colts assistant GM Ed Dodds, and Chiefs executive director of player personnel Ryan Poles. Poles has interviewed for all three GM openings, Vikings, Bears, and what's the other one? For the other GM opening right now. Oh, Giants.
Yeah. Yeah, because Gettleman retired.
I know. That's what I put it in air quotes too. Yeah. All right. Other NFL news. Yeah, so Deshaun Watson to Miami, not gonna happen, more than likely. It's looking like the Dolphins and owner Stephen Ross, whoever they hire as head coach, will need to want Tua Tagovailoa, and they are committed to Tua as their quarterback for 2022. So just mark off another non-destination for Deshaun Watson. I think it's all going to depend on how the coaches shake out, who goes where. Even though when you look at the openings, Jacksonville obviously not going to be in Deshaun Watson, which stinks. Chicago is not going to be in Deshaun Watson. More than I would say the Vikings aren't going to be in Deshaun Watson either. They got Kirk Cousins. Giants probably aren't either. I think they're going to bring back Daniel Jones for 2022. So,
although there have been a lot of rumors about Russell Wilson possibly wanting to go to New York, but I mean the biggest coaching opening I think of when I think of the Shaun Watson thing is Denver, because he was already linked to them before. So, I mean, Denver obviously is looking for a quarterback, whether that be convincing Russell Wilson to go there. If Rodgers still falls out with Green Bay, possibly bringing him in, or Deshaun Watson if things go well with him with the legal issues.
I think that it's smarter for Denver, even though it'd be a longer term solution with Deshaun Watson. When I look at a trade and what it would cost to get someone, and talking about Aaron Rodgers, it would cost probably the same amount in terms of draft pick compensation to go get Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams from Green Bay than it would to get just Deshaun Watson. Cannot get this thing out of my throat, dude.
Yeah, and obviously we see what they're doing in Green Bay now. That would put Denver in immediate Super Bowl contention. Yeah, whereas I don't think Deshaun Watson would.
God dang. The Bucs head coach Bruce Arians expected to return next season. He's, I believe, 70 years old now. They're
Yeah, he won't retire till Brady does. Now.
That's what I said. But yeah, he said he's feeling good, and I think that's probably going to be one of those kind of like we're seeing with Pete Carroll because he's around that age now too. They're like questions every single year. You know, are you returning and whatnot? So the Bengals, they are going to be without defensive tackle Larry Ogunjobi for the rest of the playoffs. He was placed on IR with his foot injury. Big loss when you're going to face Derrick Henry and the Titans. The Cardinals, they are getting back defensive end J.J. Watts tonight. Activated him off IR. Big get back for him. See him in the playoffs once again. It would be very cool, especially on national TV, you know. The Rams, safety Taylor Rapp is out tonight. He has a concussion. They did activate Eric Weddle off the practice squad. He will play tonight. So we'll see how it goes for Eric Weddle.
Yeah, when I saw that, I was very confused because he hasn't played in a while now. So to randomly just decide to come back here for the playoffs, I mean,
3 months, 23-month retirement. And then update on Niners injury. Linebacker Fred Warner, he has a low ankle sprain, does have a good chance to play this weekend at Green Bay.
Yeah, when I first saw that, I totally thought that was an ACL by the way he just collapsed. But yeah, then they said it was just an ankle, like he rolled his ankle or whatever. I was like, well, then that's not that bad of an injury, but I totally thought it was going to be season over for him.
Yeah, we'll have to see if he can get back and Nick Bosa can clear concussion protocol by Saturday night. All right. So, pick standings. I got you. For second place, Chris.
That's all right.
You picked Alabama. Mark and I were on Georgia. So, we got one game left.
That's all right.
And it doesn't matter because we're all on the same team. Tonight, the Cardinals at the Rams. Rams favored by 3.5. We are all on LA. And yeah, I think it has to. You know, the Rams, they're the biggest one-year team that there is. They put literally everything into this season. Trade for Matthew Stafford, trade for Von Miller, sign OBJ. You know, it has to be. They got to make a run.
Yeah, and I mean, they are fully capable of doing it too. But obviously, it starts tonight with the Cardinals, who did they split with them this year? I believe they did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Cardinals beat them in LA, and the Rams beat the Cardinals in Arizona, I believe, or maybe it was the other round. But
yeah, so I mean, I don't know what that says about tonight's game because that might not bode well for the Rams then. But either way, this is going to be, I think, their toughest game of the playoffs because it's a divisional opponent. They've already played each other twice, beat each other. And then next week, the winner of this game is going to Tampa Bay no matter what. The Rams already played and beat Tampa Bay this year, so I don't think they're as worried about next week. And I think that if they win tonight, they can make a deep run and possibly even make it. Well, I still think that they'd have to go through Green Bay to get to the Super Bowl because I think Green Bay wins next week against the 49ers. But yeah, I think that they can make a deep run if they win. Cardinals, on the other hand, though, I don't know. I think the Cardinals will have a tough time next week against Tampa Bay.
Yeah, both of these teams have been struggling down the stretch. The Cardinals have lost 4 out of their last 5, including a loss to the Seahawks last week. So I just think even with J.J. Watt back on defense, I don't think the Cardinals are good enough at this point to beat the Rams and all the stars that they have, especially
Yeah.
Cooper Kupp. So I think the Rams get it done at home.
Yeah.
And Cooper Kupp scores a touchdown.
I mean, no matter who wins this game, though, I'm going to be rooting for them next week because both of these teams have a ton of players that are really likable players. I mean, you already mentioned J.J. Watt and even DeAndre Hopkins, both former Texans, now on the Cardinals. Even A.J. Green, I think those three guys all kind of deserve some playoff success because they haven't really had any in their careers so far. And then on the flip side, the ultimate no playoff guy in Matthew Stafford. He's been stuck on the Lions his entire career. Now he finally has a legitimate chance in the playoffs. I would love to see him make a deep run.
Hey, they should have won their playoff game, though, that Matthew Stafford played in. They should have beat the freaking Cowboys.
Mm-hmm. They should have.
It was a no call. It was a stupid no call.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I got to get my same game parlay together for tonight's game. I'm going to have Cup. I got to see what his lines are at as far as receiving yards and receptions. I'm definitely going to put him as a touchdown scorer.
Mm-hmm.
But
That's who I got as my touchdown scorer.
it'd be interesting to see the uptick in workload for Cam Akers in this game, see how they split carries between him and Sony Michel.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I don't know. I think it's a high scoring game. Over under is 50.
Oof.
I like the over.
50 is a tough one, though. Like, because that's over 7 touchdowns. I mean, I could see the score being literally 28-21, which is 7 touchdowns. So it's just under.
I like 35-28 Rams.
All right.
Even though my guy Full Slate on Twitter, he has Matt Prater over 1.5 field goals. So maybe it's a little bit of a wonky score. Maybe the Cardinals get a 2-point conversion somewhere. I don't know. Let's see. 8:15 ESPN, ABC, and ESPN Plus. All right, time to finally end the show because I'm coughing too much and I can't get this tickle out of my throat. But next week it'll be Divisional Weekend. I don't know why I have Wild Card Weekend on there still. It'll be Divisional Weekend though. We'll be breaking down all the 4 divisional games. Got Saturday, Bengals at the Titans. Saturday night is Niners at the Packers, rematch of 2020 NFC Championship game. And then on Sunday, we got the winner of tonight's game at the Bucs and the rematch of the 2020 AFC Championship game, Bills Chiefs. I'm liking right now probably all 4 home teams or not. No, actually, I shouldn't say that. I don't know why I said that. I like the Titans. I like the Bucs, but I'm going the away teams in the night games, Niners and Bills right now.
Well, I mean, the AFC games are definitely a lot closer than the NFC games, I think. But yeah, I got to go with both number 1 seeds, the Titans and Packers. And after the way that I really don't know who to pick in the Bills and Chiefs game because I think it's going to be a very high scoring game in that one.
It opened up 2.5 for the Chiefs, if you didn't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would give the edge to the Chiefs in the end, but I think it'll just be a bloodbath shootout. Both teams scoring over 30 points, possibly even over 40.
I don't know. Both defenses are very good.
But both offenses are even better.
So, but I'm happy to say that my Super Bowl is still open right now.
So is mine.
Bucs Bills. So
mine's Packers Chiefs. So it's still very possible. One of our Super Bowl picks though is going down this weekend because the Bills and the Chiefs are playing against each other.
Yeah, and the Bills are gonna win. My my cousin-in-law is also he's a Bills fan, so I'll be riding his train.
And well, no matter what, I'll be rooting for the winner of the Titans and the Bengals in the AFC Championship game, because that is the Jets Bowl right now. The Jets beat both of those teams. So I would love to say that the Jets beat the Super Bowl champion. Probably not going to happen, but one can dream.
The Buffalo Bills are winning the Super Bowl this year, y'all. Just saying. Against the Tampa Bay Bucs. But anyways, that is the show for today. Don't forget to follow us on all our social media at FAA Podcast on Instagram and Twitter. FAApodcast.com is our website. You can also check us out here on YouTube, Facebook, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and iHeartRadio. Thank y'all.